What's up, guys? Hope everyone is doing fantastic. Today's video is going to be my 3-year ownership video on these two beautiful Hummer H1s. I know you guys have been asking me a ton of questions with regards to these two trucks, and I am by no means the most experienced person when it comes to Hummer H1s, but I'll do my best to give you my personal opinions and experiences with regards to these trucks. And honestly, I do daily these cars and have been almost dailying both of them since I purchased them almost 3 years ago. I will say that I drive the 1998 model a bit more than the 1995 wagon, mainly because I tend to use this one for work, and this one is the, I would say daily of the two. And honestly, these cars are so badass and have such cool character. I've been fortunate enough to, own and drive a bunch of cool cars, and I'm just still in awe of these things. As you can tell, that's why I ended up with two of them. So let's get to it. So let's take a look at the red 98 model first. And yeah, as you can see, everything is just absolutely pristine. This is all original leather, original everything. I didn't touch anything on this car, and I plan to keep it this way. I love the stock interior, and honestly, everything has been wonderful. I will say this thing, being a 98, definitely has a much better AC system than that one. The AC system in that one is absolute shit. I need to figure it out. I need to find something or a solution to having a proper HVAC system in that thing. That's the main, I would say, difference interior wise between these two. Obviously, this one is much smaller. It's still freaking massive, but like it's smaller than that one from the inside. I always wanted, when I was a kid, I always wanted a black H1 wagon, and the first Hummer H1 that Arnold Schwarzenegger took, delivery of was a tan wagon. So this thing to me is very, very special. So from the back, I know I said I use that one more for work, but I do tend to use this for work sometimes because it's such a manual process. There's no electronics to open the tailgate. It's a real old school chain and hook mechanism that you just, hook the tailgate. And I do feel like, for me at least, parking this thing at night and taking it to places, even though it's a red Hummer H1, it's kind of less conspicuous than the black wagon. The black wagon is honestly my favorite look in terms of Hummer H1. They both look badass, but there's something about the black H1 wagon that just looks so nice. Maybe because of the accessories and the Predator bumpers and roof rack and all that stuff, but it's just, this is how I feel, and my experience with driving both of them, that's kind of what I felt. And I do like the space in the back because this is like a workshop for me. It's literally like a moving workshop, whether it's the RC cars or anything like that. It's literally like a small apartment in here, and I love that because you have endless storage, you have endless transport capabilities. If you needed to get, camera equipment or whatever equipment you're trying to get from point A to point B, no matter the terrain, it could be a shitty terrain, this will get you there, honestly. And I love that about it. And that's for both of them, though. That's not just specifically with regards to the black one, but I would say, you know I have a little bit more carrying space in the wagon. Even though it's a wagon and it's closed, I still feel like I get to carry more things in this. Also, if need be, I rarely use it, but the roof rack is there just in case I want to load a bunch of stuff. I've considered putting the spare tire in the rear with the Predator ladder that they have in the back, but I just never really needed it. Depending on who you are, I daily these things because I just enjoy the drive. I enjoy the character. Are they loud from the inside? Absolutely. Are they, you know, not the easiest car to park and things like that? Absolutely. But I like that. That's the whole point of driving an H1. And even the slogan for this car back in the day, they said, Hummer did say that this car is not for everybody. This car is for, I would say, a select few who really appreciate the purpose and the history behind these cars, but also the use and the capability. Because you look at this car and yes, it looks badass and all that, and it has its pros and cons, but as a whole package, I think, you know especially with the direction that we're moving in today in terms of cars, in terms of coolness and the cool factor, you don't really get that as much. And I've been in the new Hummer EV. I've seen the new Hummer EV, and I've been in it. And honestly, the features are amazing. The features in the Hummer EV are amazing. It's comfortable, it's all that, but it just doesn't feel the same. And I'm sorry to say that it doesn't feel the same. And I stand by that 100%. I wouldn't even, honestly, in all honesty, I wouldn't even call that thing a Hummer. I would call it something else, because the true meaning of a Hummer is to have something like this. This machine was built for war. I mean, before Arnold saw it and wanted to have a civilian version of it, it was considered a military item, just as an aircraft or a tank or something like that. So one of the main questions or topics that I've been getting asked with regards to these two H1s is reliability. And honestly, my answer is, as with anything, it really depends on the condition it's in once you purchase it. And that will really determine how your ownership experience will be. So I would, let's say, if it's, in really bad shape, then you're definitely going to have some issues. But if it's in pristine condition, and I'll give you an example, the red H1, all right? I've been dailying this thing, like I said, since I bought it. No issues whatsoever. The only thing that I had to do to that car is the CTIS, the front left CTIS system was leaking a little bit. I had to change the O-ring under the tire and around the wheel and the tire, and everything has been absolutely fine since then. The 95 version, for example, has a few things that I'll get into right now. For example, this one being 3 years older, and I would say a little bit more used, and rightfully so. You don't buy these. I'm not mad at the owner for the previous owner. I'm not mad at the previous owner for purchasing this car and using it as intended. The red one, I know for a fact, has not seen the dirt until I bought it. And when I say dirt, I'm not taking it to the Moab Desert. I'm just driving it around, little hills and stuff like that. So it's not a big deal. And it's made for 10 times worse scenarios than that. The black one had, for example, a few issues with regards to the paint. The paint is kind of faded, and this is going to be a really expensive process for me to fix, which I need to fix eventually. Honestly, I need to paint these. Also, the wheels. Even though I love the original Goodyear MT wheels, the military wheels, I have heard from people. I don't know if this is true or not. That they might have blowouts and that they're not really the best tire. But to me, they're a really significant tire, because when the car was released, this is the original tire they used with the H1. So I'm keeping it. Hopefully, won't have any blowouts. Had it for 3 years, not have had any issues. So fingers crossed, I won't have any issues. Anyways, yeah, with regards to ownership and reliability, I've had an incredible experience with both. Just because I knew this one was used a bit more than that one, I went into the extra precautions of changing all the ball joints and all the little stuff. And these cars have a lot of grease points, a ton of grease points, and you need to upkeep with the maintenance. For example, the engine oil changes, the gear hub oil changes for every individual wheel. You have to change the transfer case oil. You have to change the rear diff and front diff fluid. But if you do that, and if you take care of this thing, I think these things honestly will outlive us. Guaranteed, they will last way longer than us. I mean, I'm driving these cars. One is literally 2 years after I was born, and sorry, one is 2 years after I was born, and the other one is 5 years after I was born. So, and they're still running strong. And honestly, they look cooler than anything on the road. Really, I mean, I just love their stance, the way they just sit there. They look like they're ready for war. Just here, there is the machine gun. So yeah, and that thing in the back. Again, if you want to see the YouTube video specifically with regards to each vehicle, there I'll put them in the description in the end. But yeah, this area here in the middle, where I have the Predator search and rescue package, so you have a bunch of cool stuff here, just in case you want to help anybody, you have that capacity to carry some extra stuff here. And this is actually meant to stand on. So in the Humvee, the military version, you'd have a roof latch, and you'd have either rocket launchers or an anti-aircraft machine gun, or just a M60 machine gun. And a person would stand in the middle and just access the machine gun, or you can even access it from the roof on the back. So yeah, same thing with the soft top. They use these cars in the military for a ton of stuff, whether it was an ambulance, it was a transport vehicle, it was, like I said, rocket launcher, machine gun, etc., etc., etc. And the fact that you could, tell people that you drive a vehicle that has weird hooks on the top of its hood, these are not for show, not like the H2 or the H3 where they're absolutely useless. And I owned an H2, but these are actually for hooks to clamp onto along with the rear so that it can be transported and picked up by helicopter. That statement alone, in my opinion, is such a cool thing to say. To explain the history of this car is something that gives me pleasure. And to just experience that again in 2023 and own something like this is truly very, very special. I hold these cars very dear to my heart, and like I said, they're not going anywhere. I'll probably be keeping them. I think my children will enjoy these in the future. Just this is how much I've learned to appreciate these cars, and I was always one, never a diesel engine kind of guy. Two, I was always a sport car kind of person, but getting to drive these and getting to see, all these features and to read and to learn about the history and how these cars came about into production and all that stuff, like with the whole Arnold story and how this machine was not really a civilian machine. These cars were technically meant to be US military equipment solely. They were not meant to be on the road. So this was a machine of war technically, and that's why it was created by AM General, so that it would be deployed in every single hellhole in the world. This is what you would see in every single war zone. So um, it's just it's a statement, this car. And like I said, it is an event driving this car. It's not, the most comfortable car. It is definitely a very, very capable car. That's one thing I'll say. It is one of the most capable cars out there, even in today's terms. If you want to compare it to, the G 4x4 squared and things like that, this will still hold its own, um, much better than most vehicles produced today, and trucks mainly. And the width really helps. And this is the OG with portal axles. You have to remember that. So yeah, but again, by no means is this a highway cruising vehicle. Like if you want to cruise on the highway with comfort and all that stuff, this isn't really the strong suit of this car. Can it cruise? Absolutely. Like I said, I drove this all the way from here to Charleston, and here I mean, Charlotte, North Carolina. So that was like a 4-hour drive in this thing, going there and coming back. So it was a total of like 8 hours. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Again, like the slogan says from day one, these cars are not for everybody. You have to be quite a particular type of individual, I think, to really appreciate these cars. But I think every young boy or teenage boy or younger man can really appreciate these things because they're just so iconic and they really look like Matchbox toys. And that's how I started to fall in love with these cars. Not just because, of the Matchbox toys and stuff, but when I was a little kid, my dad had a red 1993 Hummer H1 that was absolutely beautiful. So um, this red one is technically his, hence the license plate being his name and the black one being my name. So yeah, we had to find a way to get him one uh, back because that was one of his most favorite, vehicles. And again, he's owned incredible and nice cars, but he's always had a soft spot for the Hummer H1, specifically in red and specifically a soft top. So yeah, I think these two cars, looking at them, actually is a very good indicator of our personalities. This is his choice in his color and his spec. This is my choice in my color and my spec. Say what you will, make what you will of that. But yeah. Um, Anyways, that's it, for today. Like I said, if you wanted to see specific videos with regards to each vehicle, I have a video on the red H1 soft top, and I have a video on the black one. So all in all, I'm super happy with these two H1s. Really, I mean, if I could have a third one, I totally would. But these two alone consume enough space, I would say. And I have something special also on the way, something very different. So we'll get into that later. But with regards to these two, really, they're just a blessing to have. I mean, this is such an iconic car. As a kid, you would play with the models of these things. So to have two of them, it's something very special. And again, with regards to reliability, whatever comments you read or anything like that, I have had very, very minimal issues, specifically with this one. And anything with these cars, remember that these cars are so cool because everything is mechanical. It's a diesel engine. It's not much complication with regards to this stuff. If you think working on something like this is difficult, try the new stuff. For example, I would take working on either of these over working on my 2013 Range Rover. The Range Rover, excuse me, is a piece of crap. It's a cool car. It drives amazing. It's a comfortable car. It's all that, but just British technology, British vehicles are crap. So this old American vehicle is 10,000 times better in my opinion, and I would take these any day. And hence the reason why I'm dailying these two so much is because my other daily is a Range Rover, and half the time it has issues. That's the reality of it. So welcome to Range Rover ownership. And that's not because it's an older Range Rover. No, I've seen a ton of brand new Range Rovers all having technical issues. So anyways, I'm not here to bash Range Rover, but just to give you an idea of reliability and how these things have been with me. And honestly, very, very happy with them. One thing I will say is that the black one, even though it's older and everything, I upgraded the suspension on this thing and it drives so beautifully. FYI guys, I just wanted to show you something funny. So if you were wondering who's driving the other red Hummer, it's actually my wife. And I think that's pretty freaking cool because you barely see these things on the road driven by anyone, let alone like a tiny little woman. It's really funny because this isn't your typical G-Wagon that can be driven easily by a housewife. This car does need, you know, spatial awareness, and I think it's just it's so hilarious to see her drive it. So anyways guys, hope you enjoyed the video. It's not really a, you know, review or anything like that. It's just, look at that. That's so funny. I laugh every time I see this. It's just entertaining. But yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed and I will see you guys next time. Ciao.